So as we all saw in the opening Formula 1 race of the 2022 season on Sunday, 3 of the 4 Honda/Red Bull powered cars were unable to make it to the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix, in an absolutely disastrous race for Red Bull. One of the questions we had was, were all of these incidents linked and caused by the same issue? Well, when we have a look back at the race to see what happened, we can break it all down to 4 main occurrences: Max's steering, Max's loss of power, Checo's loss of power, and Pierre Gasly's fire, since AlphaTauri are powered by Red Bull/Honda as well. I myself, like many others, made the assumption in my last video that the 3 DNFs from Max, Checo and Pierre Gasly were linked, but upon further research, it's safe to say that they are not. Pierre Gasly's DNF. It turns out that Pierre Gasly's fire at the back of his AT03 was most likely caused by an MGU-K failure. AlphaTauri will have to undertake a lengthy rebuild before the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix coming up this Sunday, and a bigger concern for Gasly and AlphaTauri is that they may have to replace the MGU-K and any other power unit components that were significantly damaged by the engine fire in Bahrain. This could mean that Pierre Gasly might get hit with a grid penalty, as teams are only allowed a set number of power unit components throughout the F1 season, and are penalised with grid drop penalties if they go over the allocated amount. Max Verstappen's steering difficulties. Later on in Sunday's Grand Prix, we heard Max on the radio saying that it was getting difficult to steer the car in both directions. When watching the race, I was thinking that it was potentially a hydraulic issue, which would make sense, and Max hinted at this in his post-race interview. However, Christian Horner later said that when the car was dropped back down from the jack in one of the pit stops, the track rod got damaged. Either way, that car must have been an absolute pain to steer without fully functional power steering, especially with all of the downforce that F1 cars generate. Max and Sergio's sudden loss of engine power. And as for the sudden loss of power in both Max and Checo's cars, Christian Horner said that they were both suspiciously related to each other, and it may be an issue with the fuel pump system. The fuel pumps themselves are FIA mandated components, so if everyone is running those fuel pumps, then surely it could happen to anyone, right? Well, there are some rumours that the new E10 fuel that everyone has to use this season, as part of Formula 1's push to become a more sustainable sport, could be a potential culprit. E10 is 10% biofuel, and it can get a lot hotter in the later stages of the race than the previous traditional race fuel that they were using in previous seasons. According to the race, Red Bull didn't do any long-term low fuel runs in the pre-season testing and in the Bahrain free practice sessions, so this lack of data could have left them vulnerable at the end of the race in Bahrain, when there wasn't much fuel left in the car and the engine had been running for a much longer period of time. A phenomenon called vapor lock could be to blame as well. Vapor lock happens when fuel gets hot and converts into gas while it is still inside the fuel delivery system. As we know, E10 fuel can vaporize a lot more easily than the previous fuel when being heated by the engine, which creates significant disruption to the fuel pump, resulting in a loss of power or even stalling of the engine. This does actually make quite a lot of sense, and personally, this is what I would put my money on if I had to bet on what their problems were, since both Red Bull cars had a loss of power at basically exactly the same time in the race. This is all just speculation though, and information that I have been able to gather from sources online who are a lot more knowledgeable on these technical topics than I am. But what do you guys think caused the issues? Let me know in the comments below. And before I end this video, I would kindly ask you to subscribe if you enjoyed it. All of your support helps me out a lot. Thank you very much, and see you next time.